morning, everyone.
What? You guys are still asleep. Good morning. Good morning. There you go.
Welcome to our session on deep dive into Skype for Business Mobility. My name is Kaushal Mehta. I'm a TAB PM with Skype for Business team here in Microsoft. I've been with Microsoft for 5.5 years now. My day-to-day job involves working with TAB customers and engineering teams and reporting quality on mobile apps and client. And I'll let Miru introduce himself.
Sure. My name is Miru Gunaraja. I work on the same team. I've been at Microsoft for about 6 years, all the way back from OCS 2007 R2, all the way till now. So I've been on the same team, kind of working with customers, kind of getting feedback and driving that back to the team. So.
Just a quick update on this. There's a party tomorrow, and the way it works is you take a picture, tweet it with the hashtag, and it will go into a raffle, I guess. And the prize is you get to attend the session, or you get to win a Surface Pro 3. So try to take a picture of one of our slides. So the session scope, we are actually assuming that you are familiar with Link Server 2013. The idea behind that is mobility. Skype for Business Mobility is dependent on a component called UCIVA, which was introduced in 2013. So we assume that you have at least some familiarity with Link Server 2013. If not, and you are familiar with MCX, that's still fine. The mobility features that we'll be discussing in this session, they are actually scoped to what was enabled through Skype for Business server. So mobility, as the user sees it, is actually powered through the server. And the features that we'll be discussing, we'll be deep diving into, those are actually available only when you have Skype for Business Server 2015. So that's the scope of the features that we'll be discussing or deep diving into. And it is a 400 level session. So if your day-to-day job involves debugging, going through logs, troubleshooting, break fix issues, then this is the right session. If not, then this may not be the right session for you. We have another session. It's 2146 that's happening right now on Skype for Business Online and audio conferencing. It's in S101 room. So you have like a minute or two if you want to switch. Just want to make sure you make the best use of your time here at Ignite. The objectives with this session, so our goal is to help you understand the new mobility features, how they work, what components are involved, how the flow is, and then how to configure, how to light up these features on an on-prem or online. And the key takeaway is, independent of the features that we'll be discussing, we really want to make sure that when you leave this room, you at least have a good understanding of how to troubleshoot. Whatever feature it is, you should at least have an understanding of what logs to enable, what components to enable, where to look for logs, and fix the issue, or at least know the end-to-end working of the feature. I guess people are just still moving in, so. So agenda, we'll be discussing synchronized conversations and auto-accept features. These features, I'll let Miru deep dive into the features, the background. He'll go through the demo. We'll do a quick demo of those features. We'll go into the configuration and deep dive into how the feature works end-to-end, how to collect logging. And then we'll go into a new server-specific feature, which is mobile authentication option. We'll go to a quick background on that, and then configuring that niche feature, and deep dive into a Fiddler log there. And then for Q&A, we would encourage, if you want to ask questions, we can do it live instead of waiting all the way to the end. So we can make it interactive and not wait till the end. So really your call, but we are open to any time. So if you have any questions, just raise your hand and we'll answer it. So with that, I'll let Miru take it from here.
Cool. Thanks. And so for folks standing all the way in the back, there's a whole bunch of seats on the left side here. If you do want to come and join us, feel free. So before I kind of dive into this, I'd like to take a quick poll of the audience. Who's running Skype for Business Online today? Okay. Skype for Business 2015, who's deployed it and has it ready to go? Not in lab, but okay, I see a few hands go down. Okay, awesome. Link 2013? Awesome, okay.
This is good.
Link 2010, anybody? Okay. OCS? Any? There we go. LCS? Okay, cool. So, perfect. So, what I'm going to talk through today is kind of what we're doing with synchronized conversations and auto accept. This is a new feature that we did add to Skype for Business, and let's kind of go back to when we started mobile. We kind of first revamped our mobile clients back in Link 2010 when we first kind of did the first big launch, and we had 2010. We revved that a little bit. We did 2013. We kind of did some new interfaces, added a whole bunch of stuff. However, the conversations on your mobile client were still completely separate from your desktop client. So if you had a conversation on your desktop, there was no way to move it forward to your mobile and vice versa. This kind of sucked because if you have a great conversation on your mobile, the only way for you to get back to your desktop and see that is to either copy and paste it or email it to yourself. And IT admins like you guys may disable that, and so users could never actually do that. So there's kind of that piece to the conversation history. And then there's auto accept. How many of you have been in a scenario where you just left the office to grab lunch, your manager sends you an IM on your phone, you're scrambling to take it out of your pocket, unlock it, you happen to put in the wrong passcode, so you have to do it again. By the time you get to that message, it says missed. Anyone kind of hit that? Yeah? Okay. I'm surprised I only see a few hands. I would assume everybody has hit that. But it's super annoying, right? Because you get a missed conversation. If someone has actually said, hey, and then sent you like 3 other lines, those 3 other lines disappear. You never see them. Of course, when you get back to your desktop or when Exchange triggers a missed email, you'll see that. But until that point, you'll never end up seeing that. So what we've actually done is we've introduced 2 new features. The first one is synchronized conversations. So now you're able to kind of get your conversations from your desktop to your mobile and kind of synchronize them back and forth. And then the auto accept. So we now allow that your mobile clients will automatically accept. So I'm going to pause here for an applause. There we go. Great. Perfect. Server requirements. You do need Skype for Business 2015 or Skype for Business Online. That's where we really added those 2 features. From an Exchange perspective, you need 2013. That can be online or on-prem. Either one will work for us. So with that, enough of me talking. I'm going to actually switch over and do a quick demo here. So what you're going to see is I actually have my desktop client running here. And so this is the new Skype for Business 2013 UI. And behind here I have Exchange. But this is kind of what you're used to today. You have all your conversations, my 3 conversations. I'm such a popular guy. I talk to 3 people. And then I have the same thing in Outlook. So now if I actually switch over to my mobile client, I have the exact same, the 3 conversations. Again, you could just assume that, hey, I magically did this. So in order to prove that this is right, I'm actually going to get Koshal to send me an IM here. And what we're going to actually do is I'm going to start that on my desktop. And then I'm going to actually move over to my mobile and continue that conversation. Cool. So I got that IM. So just imagine the scenario. I just continue this conversation. And now with our new awesome emoticons, we can kind of continue with that. So what I'm going to do is, let's say, I had that conversation, and now I want to actually shift over to my mobile device. So I'm going to go over to my mobile client here and actually be able to refresh the conversations. Oh, yeah, it probably helps if I switch over, right?
There's a new option, refresh.
Yeah. I'm going to sign out here real quick and then sign back in. So let's just assume that this was signed in. And I guess that conversation is not working. So let's actually continue the conversation here and start a new IM here. Try to force sync it here. Okay, so if I go back and actually force the conversation to actually sync.
Yep, that it is.
Yeah. So now if I come over to my desktop conversation, I actually see that here as well. And I can actually continue that conversation. This is actually the old one. Yeah, so...
You're going to refresh there.
Yeah. It's not working. Yeah, so you should be able to refresh that conversation and continue that conversation.
You can probably try one more
and
time.
the piece is that you will have that conversation and you'll be able to continue that. Let's try actually deleting and seeing if deleting actually works. One thing that we've actually done is that we've actually removed that piece where you actually get conversations. And so as you can see here, I deleted that conversation that I had with Jordell, and now that's gone from my conversation history in Link, and it's also gone from my thing. So I guess the demo gods are finally slowly waking up and trying to smile on me here. So the one thing that, if you guys do remember, in the 2013 mobile client, you were able to delete all of your conversations. We actually removed that option because now that you can delete a conversation and it deletes everywhere, we didn't want a user to go in and accidentally just delete everything and come to the IT admins and say, sorry, I just deleted everything. How do I get it back? So we wanted to make sure we avoid that, and we actually removed that. We do have a refresh conversation option here, and for whatever reason it's built, it's not necessarily working. But you will be able to actually refresh your conversations and be able to pull those conversations directly from the mobile client itself.
We can probably try Control-S one. So we can try it again.
Well, it's not working on this one. So the other piece that I did want to show is actually the auto accept. So what I'm going to actually do is force a sign out here and actually go back to this conversation. I'm going to lock my screen. So this is kind of the scenario that we typically walk into where, I talked about it before, where, you have your phone in your pocket, you don't necessarily want to lock it. So, Kosha, if you can kill that conversation and start a new one. Yep. So now Kosha's going to actually send me an IM, and you'll see that notification pop up here. And what I'm going to actually get Kosha to do is send me a few different IMs that'll come in. So you see that first one that came in. Again, I'm just going to give it some time here just so that it's showing that, hey, it's actually going to make sure that it doesn't actually reject. And so I'm going to switch over to Koshal's machine real quick here and show you that he still has the spinning wheels here on the left side. So if you look up there, if I can point, there and here. Okay, so now those are gone. So basically what that's showing is that those messages are actually spinning. So now if I go back into my mobile client, one thing I'll see is in the past with your current clients that you guys were using, you would see a missed notification and you wouldn't see the rest of the IMs. Now I actually see all of the IMs. So I can go into my client and actually see all of the IMs that he's actually sent. Oh, probably helps, right? Yeah, I think, well, the notifications are gone. But just assume that all the notifications were there. and all the IMs are now showing. So you don't get that missed notification issue. All of your IMs are auto-accepted. We do have some logic to understand which endpoint is actually your active endpoint. So if you're sitting at your desktop, we're not automatically accepting on your mobile and vice versa. And Kosha will walk through that later when we do a deep dive into specifically how we do that and how we find that logic. And it depends on kind of the present states and how long a user's been at a certain present state for. So that's kind of the two pieces. I wish the other one had worked in terms of that, but I don't necessarily want to hold this up for this. But I'm going to try to, as Koshal's kind of doing the deep dive, I'm going to kind of go back and see if I can rework this and maybe reinstall the build and fix some stuff here. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Koshal, if you want to jump over to...
Yeah, I think one, the synchronization from desktop is dependent on the existing synchronization interval. So we have to sometimes force it using Control-S. So that will do a EWS query, and it will write it to your Outlook, to your Exchange mailbox. So that's one way to force conversations from desktop to Exchange, and then have other endpoints pull it off from Exchange. So with that, so let's deep dive into the nuts and bolts of this feature. But before we deep dive, just want to have a view of how the environment looks like for mobility. You can see we have a reverse proxy edge. The mobile clients, they typically come from the internet. Even if they are within Corp, we recommend to come from the forward proxy and then come from the internet and then sign in. So at a very high level, this is how the whole deployment looks like. We will be having a session tomorrow that will go through the configuration, the deployment options, and everything on this. It's tomorrow 3:15. I'll give the session code at the end. So that's how the mobile client signs in. It actually goes through the reverse proxy, and then it signs in to the front end. And front end has a specific component called UCIVA that is responsible for handling the HTTPS traffic for mobile. We will be having a session on this tomorrow. If you want to take a picture of this, because as we go through the logs, these are the IP addresses you might see in the logs. So the front end, reverse proxy, desktop client, and edge, these are the IP addresses you will most likely see in the log. So just to give you a quick question. In my lab, I have a TMG. So the question is what reverse proxy I have in my lab. That's TMG right now. But we have a certification program where we have listed out the certified reverse proxies.
What are you going to use when TMG is gone, though?
So I believe we have our interop portal, OIP portal, that has listed all the reverse proxies. So probably pick one that is certified.
Yeah, we're going to have that session tomorrow, and they're actually going to cover parts of the reverse proxy as well. So
Okay.
We'll have the session code there as well. So.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. So quickly, so writing IAM conversations, just to give you a quick deep dive into this, you have a desktop user, and that user is signed into a front-end pool. It's talking to another desktop user or another link user. They are exchanging IAMs, and if the sender does a control S on the IAM, that will directly write the conversation to Exchange mailbox, the user's mailbox. So this is just to give you an understanding of how conversations are actually syncing from desktop to Exchange. And then the Exchange mailbox, depending on what client you have for the email, if you have Outlook, it will show up in your Outlook conversation history folder. In the logs, so this log is actually, this line I got it from the ETL file, which is not actually customer focused. It's actually for us, and we have to convert it into a text readable. And there you will see this reference that the desktop client is writing message to mailbox. So just to give you an understanding of how messages are currently written from desktop to Exchange. So with mobility, you have a mobile endpoint. It is going through reverse proxy. We have UCIVA. We have link front-end server. UCIVA and front-end, they're actually the same server, but for simplicity, for breaking apart and understanding, we'll keep it separate because they are technically two different components. The front-end is more like a registrar handling SIP as well as the web traffic, but UCIVA is purely web. And then we have Exchange in the environment. So the green would be all the registration traffic. So the mobile user will, the user will start signing in. It will do the link discover records. It will find the reverse proxy because that's usually what is published in the public DNS. That will go through the UCIVA, and then it will register to the front end. The EWS traffic, so as soon as you are signed in, if you want to look at your meetings, your voicemail, that traffic is all EWS traffic. It's the Exchange Web Service traffic. That is still going through reverse proxy because your Exchange records would be still pointing to something that is on-prem or your edge. So that will go through reverse proxy, and then it will go to Exchange. And that's how the mobile app will actually retrieve the meetings and voicemail. Now, the search traffic, if you are signed in and if you want to search, there's an option. The traffic will still go through reverse proxy. That's always the first hop for the mobile apps. It will go through UCIVA, and UCIVA can do a EWS lookup. Currently, that's the design, and it can get context search for UCS type of deployment. So this is just another quick layout of how some of the flows are working. So for SSCH, what we have done is, as you can see, there is no, currently in the design, there is nothing that can actually write conversations or sync conversations for mobile endpoints. So what we have done is we are leveraging LIS. LIS is link storage service that is currently used for QoE metrics. It's used for CDR data to write it to archiving. It's also responsible for writing conversations to Exchange if you have Exchange archiving. But that's more like a storage service. It's still part of the link front-end server. So we are going to leverage that, and that's how the conversations will actually sync up. So it will be mobile app, reverse proxy, UCIVA, not front-end, but LIS, and then directly going to Exchange. So what does this LIS actually look like? So this is how the link storage service actually looks like if you want to deep dive into that. We don't need to talk about each and every component there, but we can actually just say that the link storage APIs are what we are leveraging for UCIVA to write conversations, and then we have conversation history processor, and we have auto accept cache. Auto accept is more, the cache is more for storing the conversation while the mobile user has not accepted the messages. So it will be stored in the cache, and then the Exchange data transport, that is what is going to eventually write it to the Exchange server. So this is how, at a, not a high level, but like a low, mid-level, the design is. If you have any questions, I can probably take any questions. So configuring this.
There's a question up there.
Yeah. Sorry, what's the question?
Are you using? Yeah.
Can you use the mic?
Mind coming up to the mic over here? There's one just over on the side, yeah.
I think I heard NTLM, but
Is your mobile app still using NTLM to go get the Exchange conversations?
so it's actually using OAuth between link and Exchange.
Okay, so there's no NTLM needed to get the meeting and calendar stuff anymore?
No. So that's still outside. So meetings, that is still the traffic that will go directly from the mobile app to reverse proxy to Exchange directly.
Okay.
So that traffic is, the meetings traffic doesn't actually go through front end.
Okay.
The meetings retrieval, voicemail retrieval, fetching that is not through the front end.
Okay, but this function goes through the front end, which
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that's why, just to give you another perspective, if you have currently the OAuth setup between link and Exchange, then you don't actually have to do a lot of configuration to make server-side conversation history work for mobile. We'll just quickly go through that. So the environment prerequisites, of course, as Miru mentioned, the user has to be homed on Skype for Business Server 2015. The mailbox should be on Exchange Server 2013 or higher, or Exchange Online. And then you have to set up OAuth between your Skype for Business Server and Exchange. Exchange-specific prerequisites, because you have to make sure the link and Exchange, they are able to exchange traffic properly. You have to make sure the OAuth is configured. You can run through these commands and make sure that is configured. If your environment already has OAuth configured, then you can just verify this, and your server-side conversation history is almost working. You have to just go through some more steps that I'll be discussing in the next slide. And then the get partner replication, if you're familiar with setting up OAuth, then these are the standard configuration commandlets. You can verify using get CS. The commandlets that have CS, those are actually link specific, Skype for Business Server specific, and one without CS, those are to be run on the Exchange server. If you want to verify, still if you want to make sure that your environment is set up with OAuth or not, you can run through a simple synthetic transaction, which is test CSX storage connectivity. You can specify the user's mailbox and do a verbose, and you will see how the test message is created. It's doing OAuth handshake between link, between Skype for Business Server and Exchange, and then that test message is written to your Outlook conversation history. You can even see that test message. If that test passes, then your environment is ready for server-side conversation history and auto accept.
You want to just come up to the mic, by the way? Makes it easier for everyone to hear.
I just want to check. The material you're presenting here today, that will be available for download later, I guess?
The question is, the material presented today will be downloadable?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. This is all public now, yeah. Skype for Business Server RTM'd May 1st. So this is all public. There is no confidentiality. Yeah.
Is auto accept also dependent on Exchange 2013 or just the conversation history?
Great question, actually. When we actually started working on this, trying to understand the design, we had the same question. So auto accept is dependent on the existing design. So both need Exchange Server 2013 because they both rely on less the link storage service. And yeah, so the design actually is, it requires both Skype for Business Server 2015 as well as Exchange Server 2013 or Exchange Online.
Well, there was a question over there. Good.
So just a quick question.
Yep.
If I have an Exchange 2013 CAS array, the hybrid servers, but my mailboxes are on Exchange 2010, and I have Skype for Business, do I lose conversation history completely or just the auto accept feature?
So another great question. The question is you have Exchange Server 2010 as well as Exchange Online or Exchange Server 2013, and the user mailbox is on Exchange Server 2010. The link server will not be able to do OAuth with Exchange Server 2010 because OAuth was only available starting Exchange Server 2013. So this feature will not be working in that configuration, in that deployment.
So is that just the new features or just there will be no conversation?
Just the new mobility-specific conversation history.
Okay.
Meaning your mobile endpoints won't be able to retrieve your conversations.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Are these features independent of each other?
Where's the question from?
Are these independent features, or do I need conversation history for auto accept?
No, they're kind of interrelated. I mean, they come together. There's no extra setup that you need to do for auto accept.
My company doesn't, keep conversation history, and they don't want to, so then we wouldn't be able to do this. Auto accept.
It will auto accept. It won't store the conversation history, but it will auto accept.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
What was the question?
You disable conversation history, will it still auto accept?
Oh, no, so great question. And I'm going to show in the logs that there is a check that the whole logic goes through, the design goes through. If conversation history is disabled, it's set to false, then auto accept won't happen. So I'll show that in the logs. Yeah, great question. Yeah.
One more question, please.
Yeah.
Is this Exchange-specific pre-requirements? It's only for the greenfield installation of the Skype for Business, or just for the in-place upgrade? Because if you start with the in-place upgrade, I think you don't need to try to type all out token issuer because the legacy of the link infrastructure.
So is the question if you are doing in-place from link server 2013?
Yeah, is this specific requirements? It's only for the greenfield installation of this?
No. So if you're upgrading from link server 2013 to Skype for Business server, then this will work, yeah. So this is not for greenfield.
So, okay, the legacy of the link infrastructure will remain with the in-place upgrade.
So if you're upgrading, if you're doing in-place upgrade of your link server 2013, then you will have Skype for Business server. So that will be like it will be supported.
It will be supported. Yeah, I know that it's supported, but I just ask it will take legacy of the link infrastructure for the all-out token issuer.
So that will work. That will work. Yep. Yeah, that will work. Because the reason why it will work is because Link Server 2013 also was able to do OAuth. It was just that UCIVA wasn't enabled. UCIVA meaning the component that's available as part of Skype for Business Server 2015, it wasn't available to do this. So yeah, that will be available because your existing OAuth will continue to work with Skype for Business Server 2015. Yeah, great question.
When we originally started deploying Link, or actually OCS back in the day, our clients had a different perception of what an instant messaging conversation looked like. And today, with things like iMessage and WhatsApp and all these consumer tools that our clients are turning to for their conversations on their mobile devices, they seem to be looking for something more like that with asynchronous conversations. I know Skype for Consumer has that now. Is Skype for Business going in that direction?
We can say like this is like wave one of where we are going. This whole investment was done keeping in mind that conversations are not lost. That was our biggest problem to solve with this release. So at least we are going to make sure that conversations won't be lost, and then the next step would be how to reduce the time interval for synchronization. That's probably the reason. During our demo, we were not able to get it to synchronized instantly. But yeah, that's where we want to go. Because IAM modality is still popular. Consumer apps do it pretty well. Skype consumer app does it extremely well. So we want to go to that route as well for productivity. I'll take one more question.
I just want to add one.
Yeah.
So I'm Girija. I'm the PM on the conversation history on the server side. So with this release, we have actually moved the conversations to be enabled on the server. So which means that we have initially enabled only the mobile clients, which use this functionality. Going forward, you can envision that web clients will also use this. And as you can see with this conversation history being moving to the server side, we are looking at means of how to enable even offline messaging and all in the future. So thanks a lot.
Thanks, Girija. Yeah. Girija is the feature PM for this feature, and thanks for stopping up. I just wanted to add, actually, just one more question, and then we'll have to continue.
Yeah, I was just had a question on users at branch offices that are homed on SBAs.
So do you have mobile users who are going through SBA?
We have link users that are on, they're homed on like audio codes.
So I have to think, whether SBA has the UCIVA component or not.
It
doesn't. So,
it doesn't.
So yeah. Yeah, we'll be covering this type of questions in tomorrow's session, but UCIVA is not present in SBA, so this feature may not work. Yeah, thank you. We'll have to move on. So this is the configuration. So assuming that your OAuth is set up correctly, you are meeting all the prerequisites on the Link server, on the Skype for Business server. Sorry, I'm using Link and Skype for Business server interchangeably, so still getting used to it. So on the Skype for Business server, the first configuration is to set conversation history configuration and make sure that the flag is enabled. It's set to true. And then we also have it at the client policy level so that if at the global level your conversation history is enabled, but you want to have only few clients enabled for synchronized conversations and few not, then you can split it up using different client policies, and you can enable the same flag at a client policy level as well. Make sure the replication is happening, and then if this is the first time you are setting this up, your OAuth wasn't set up before, you have to restart the front-end services to get this into effect. And then we are also making an assumption here that the CS mobility policy flag of allow same IAM history as well as the client policy flag of disable saving IAM, these two flags are responsible, or they are actually admin controlled flags to have the mobile apps save conversations or not. So if these flags are set to, let's say, false and true, so allow save IAM history is set to false and the other flag is set to true, then this feature will not work because it will actually conflict with your goal, right? If your goal is to not have mobile endpoints save conversations at all, then the whole server-side conversation feature is not actually applicable for your environment. This type of controls are what actually makes Link or Skype for Business Server separate from the consumer apps. To the question that actually came from that side, we have this type of flexibility in controlling the feature, so which consumer apps, of course, will not have. So, and then when you look at when you do a get CS conversation history configuration, you will see it's set to true, and these are the default values. We can also share that in our environment, in Microsoft IT environment, it is all the same except that the max continued conversation retry is set to true. I believe is set for performance. I'm still trying to research on that, so we'll try to update through some blog or through some TechNet. But just wanted to share that this is the default, and our environment, which has this enabled for our 120,000 employees, the only flag that is different is the max continued conversation retry. That's set to 3. So troubleshooting scenario for SSCH. Let's say the customer or your environment has this feature not working, right? Your environment does have, so it is meeting all the prerequisites. The troubleshooting methodology to start with would be to go through some basic checks. This actually scenario is for an environment where you have Exchange Online. So you want to make sure your XSH configuration is correct. You have those settings, those flags for talking to online world, set up correctly. Your get CS hosting provider has an entry for online. And then you can, the best test actually for server-side conversation history feature is to run through this synthetic transaction, which is test CSX storage connectivity. You specify the user's mailbox, do a verbose switch, and what it will do is it will open a connection to list. So you are running it on the front end. It will open a connection within the front end to the link storage service. It will create a test message, which of course it's not visible, but it will create that. It will initiate exchange storage request. It will try to find the user's mailbox through auto discover, which again is through configuration. So this step will make sure your configuration is set up correctly between link and exchange. It will find the mailbox settings, around whether there are any policies that are preventing from writing to the mailbox. It will do a OAuth handshake between Skype for Business Server and Exchange, and then it will report whether the message creation was a success or a failure. So if it's a success, then at least one thing is sure that from link server point of view, from Skype for Business Server point of view, the conversations are being written, they can be written to the Exchange mailbox. This is the main prereq for this feature, for mobility. You can, of course, do the basic checks like, on your link server, whether this setting is enabled or not. You can also collect logs. You can turn on UCIVA, web infrastructure, and LIS component logging through the CLS logger, the new logger that we'll quickly go through. You can set the level to all and flags to all, and you can look at the traffic while sending the test message and see if it's reporting anything. The logs are very helpful. You can use Snooper to convert it and view it. So this actually came from one of our TAP customers. They had this exact same problem. I went through the same methodology. I did extra steps as well because it was online, but that was not needed. I was just learning, so we went through some extra steps. But in the end, we found out that the client policy, that flag was set to false. So it turned out to be a very easy problem in the end, but you get the idea, right? This is the whole troubleshooting methodology for this feature. So let's deep dive into auto-accept. Auto-accept is for mobility, and it is dependent on the same design. So consider a scenario where, this is exactly what we did in the demo. Let's say at t equal to 0, your desktop user. So when we did the demo, I was on the desktop side. I sent a IM, which went through the front-end pool, UCIVA. Then the front-end will figure out that the user is actually a mobile user, so it will send it to the reverse proxy. And then the user doesn't have, the user is not looking at the phone. The phone is logged, it's just kept somewhere, So I just wanted to indicate this visually that the message has arrived, but the user has not seen it. So consider that orange line as like the user has not seen it yet at t equal to 0. So, and from sender perspective, sender doesn't really care. Sender will start sending messages. That's what I was doing during the demo. I sent 3 messages to Miru. What would happen is 25 seconds is our wait time. So if the messages the user has not checked, at t equal to 25 seconds, UCIVA has already has accepted, and it will be delivered to the user. So consider that the orange line is no longer there at t equal to 25, and the user has all those messages auto-accepted. So the biggest change would be that it will no longer show as missed : message. It will show the messages as if they are already delivered to the mobile recipient. So at t equal to 25, you will see, if the user is on iPhone, you will see those messages show up in the notification. So little more deep diving, how this actually works. So link server will send the invite to UCIVA. They both are still the same, but just for, since we are splitting up, we are tearing apart the components, we'll keep it separate. Link server will send the invite to UCIVA. It's on port 5088. And then UCIVA, of course, will try to send the message to the client. I should probably do this. It will send the message to the client. Client hasn't accepted. UCIVA is still monitoring that. 25 seconds have elapsed, and then it will auto-accept here, and it will let the link server know that it has auto-accepted. So link server, so the spinning donut thing, that will actually stop after 25 seconds. This wasn't the case with link server 2013. It would actually, the sender will actually see like a NDR, it will say the message not sent, something like that, for the second and third messages. The first message actually gets piggybacked onto the invite on the first message, so you don't actually see the spinning donut for the first one. So there's the rack. So this is a ladder diagram to demonstrate that. Logs demo. If you want to troubleshoot the auto-accept logic, understand how it works, so this is the new logging tool, Skype for Business Server. What we have done is we introduced CLS. Now this is a UI for the CLS. It's pretty amazing. I mean, I'm a big fan of link logging tool, and now I even like this better because you can actually turn on logging on all the different servers from this one single UI. So, and the components that you need to troubleshoot auto-accept type of scenario. So if your users are complaining, if somehow you are hearing that your users are complaining about messages getting missed, you can do a test, turn on this components, UCIVA, Web Infra, Collaboration, SIP-Stack, and S4, set it to all and all for level and flags, and you can see the traffic. UCIVA is more like the traffic that will be from between the mobile and the UCIVA. Web Infra is more for the whole web infrastructure platform component on the link server. Collaboration is all the presence traffic, presence and IM traffic. SIP-Stack and S4 is the whole SIP traffic. So that will tell you if the SIP traffic is actually delivered. You can look at the SIP messages. So this should actually get you and give you an understanding. What we'll quickly do is, one second. So this is the log file that is exactly for this scenario. Desktop user has sent 3 messages, and the mobile user has not accepted, but it's auto-accepted by UCIVA. So this invite here, is it clear? Or can you guys see it fine? Do I need to zoom? Yeah, so this invite, the first one is, you can see it's incoming, and it's from John to Joel. Actually, in the demo, we did Joel to John, but there is no change there. And then the second invite here, you can see it's outgoing, so it's going through. It has already figured out that Joel is on mobile, and the peer here has a port number of 5088. So that indicates it's actually going through mobile. I'll quickly jump through, because we just have 30 minutes left. And so just keep an eye on this time here. It's 1946, and then 082 milliseconds. It's trying here. So at 2012, so this is around roughly after 25 seconds, you will see MS Diagnostics Public and MS Client Diagnostics. It says the call was auto-accepted by UCIVA server. So that tells the front-end server, stop, the spinning donut and make sure the 200K is sent back to the sender, so that the sender will stop displaying the spinning donut. And from sender perspective, the message was delivered. And front-end also knows that the message was accepted by UCIVA. And then UCIVA and mobile will take care of that. So that's just at the SIP level. Now, if we switch to the, so in the snooper, we have trace and messages. Messages is more the get, post, HTTP traffic, SIP traffic. Trace is more like the link, Skype for Business specific logging. So if we go to trace, and I'm going to make your job easier. If you search on screen, and I'll quickly jump to the last one here. You will see there is this presence call screening, and it says this endpoint is the preferred endpoint. If you expand and look around this message line, you will see that the mobile traffic or the mobile specific messages are there. But the point is, like, finally, it says that this endpoint is a preferred endpoint. We didn't have this logic for mobility before. Mobility, UCIVA wasn't the preferred endpoint. So that's just, if you are troubleshooting, if you are debugging, then you can directly filter on this. You can also see, like, presence call screening, just as FYI. It also has logs around, whether the receiver has do not disturb set, if it has any presence flag set. So call screening is more to make sure that whether we want to send this message or not, whether the user is do not disturb, so we can block the message at the front end. So that's for that. And there's one more that I wanted to show you real quick. It is auto accept. So when you search on this, if you search on auto accept, it says, is auto accept supported for endpoint? It's set to true. So this is another way of making sure that your auto accept is working fine. So that's for the logs. Let's see. Question? Yep.
Hey, I have a quick question.
Yep.
The features and things we're discussing today for the Skype for Business server, a lot of I don't know how many people in here, but as for my team, we have Exchange as well. So they're about to announce Exchange 2016. We've been going over a lot of 2013. So has this also been vetted for 2016 and the features, the functionality, everything is...
It should continue to work. It's supposed to continue to work, yes. Okay. So long as the OAuth is supposed to work, so it will continue to work.
Okay,
Yep.
So because a lot of people may skip, so just making sure. Okay.
Yep, and in the beta phase, we had customers who were running Exchange Online, and it was working fine.
Okay.
So it should continue to work. Exchange Online is, of course, in the service we don't announce the version numbers, right. So it's always the newer one, so it should continue to work, yeah.
Right,
yeah, cool. Yep, another question.
If you originally started off with Exchange 2010 on-premise and then connected to Office 365 hybrid, do you need to change any configuration on then Skype for Business to get this working?
Great question. So the question is, if you have Exchange Server 2010 and you also have Exchange Online, the user's mailbox is on Exchange Online, you will have to configure your link server to do OAuth specifically with Exchange Online, and that will make it work.
Are you actually pointing it as straight up to Exchange Online or via your 2013 hybrid service? So we've got a whole 2010 setup, then we've got 2013 hybrid servers to talk to Link Online. Is that where you actually pointed towards?
So in that environment, do you have Exchange Online?
Yes.
So then it should work so long as you upgrade your Link Server 2013 to Skype for Business server.
Okay. But we would still have to point it specifically online?
Yes. You'll have to set up the configuration like a brand new setup for OAuth, yeah. Because that's something that you'll have to do anyways, because you have Exchange Server 2010. So if you want to leverage the OAuth dependent like UCS, high def photos, then you will have to do that anyways. Right, so cool. We'll just take one more question.
Okay, this is a question for user experience. Let's say I am on my computer, I just log it, walk away, and then people start sending me messages, but I don't check them on my phone. I have like just sound down or anything. Will I see them when I come back to the desktop computer, like in the Link or Exchange mailbox?
So if I understood the scenario right, you are on desktop, but the desktop is locked, and you are sending to mobile as well. Someone sends you messages. So we have a slide on that that will show you what status you have on desktop, what you have on mobile, and who is the preferred endpoint. So that should answer your scenario. Okay. There is a slight chance that if you immediately switch to mobile, then that conversation may not have synced up. But there's a corner chance there. But we'll go through that scenario. So
Okay,
great question. So let me switch back to so that logging was for auto accept scenario. We'll switch back. So auto accept logic. So this is exactly your scenario. So these are the different present states you can have. So if you are signed into, actually I should have clarified, the logs that we just went through, those were for SPOP. SPOP is single point of presence. So user was signed in just to mobile. It was not MPOP, which is multiple point of presence. So let's say the user is signed on to desktop as well as mobile, has this present states. If it's available on both, our preference is to have the desktop auto accept, because if it's available on desktop, then we have to assume that the user is in front of the desktop. So the auto accept would actually prefer desktop. So these are the different present states, and you can see what's our preference criteria, preference logic there. Again, the present states are more like text or jelly beans, but at a code level, they translate into numerical values. So like for example, available for desktop has a presence, it's a container value, it's 3500. For mobile, when it's away, it's 15,450. So I leave up to you guys to research on or quickly find out the values for mobile when it's available, and if you want to write a blog, or we can take it offline. Just want to leave it up to you guys. But I know the values, so I know the answers, and but I'll leave it up to you guys to do the debugging, and if you want to blog it, blog about it. But this is the logic we have for auto accept for multiple point of presence. So with that, we can actually switch to multiple point of presence. So let's say John is the sender, Joel is the receiver, multiple point of presence into desktop and mobile. At t equal to 0 seconds, when John is observing Joel, this is the view, or this is the view John will have for Joel's presence. It says available, video capable at t equal to 0. Let's say after 10 seconds, Joel has logged his desktop, and that will immediately change the status to inactive and mobile. And then t equal to 20, John, sender, still wants to send the messages, because inactive mobile really means that user is on mobile but has just come out of app, or is still available to chat. So sender doesn't really care. They'll send the messages. You can see at t equal to 20, there are spinning donuts for second and third messages. At t equal to 45, which is after 25 seconds, as per our design, from John's point of view, all three messages have been delivered. This is John's view, across, from t equal to 0 to t equal to 45 seconds. And then on Joel, on mobile, when he checks the messages, those messages are not showing as missed IMs or anything. Those are just showing as if, how on desktop your toast gets auto-accepted, and you see those messages. That's the same experience the user will have on mobile. So we are trying to make mobile as, as a similar, same class as desktop. We want to give the same class of experience to mobile now. So for logs, it's exactly similar. Same components. You have to pick up. You have to select components. UCIVA, web infra. It's all same level, all, and there is no change in how you capture the logging. So we'll quickly switch to a MPOP logs demo. The main difference between this and the previous SPOP demo is that here you will see that the invite is actually going out to desktop as well as mobile. So it's not just going to mobile as we saw in the earlier case. Because the user is signed into both endpoints, the front end will fork it. So let me switch to the... So here, this is, yeah. So this invite here is going out to Joel, and oops, it says 5088 port number here. So that tells us that the first invite is actually going out to the mobile app, and then if you scroll down, and after about 4 milliseconds, so this one is 1930, 57, 530, and then you see here 57, 534. After about 4 milliseconds, it's going out to Joel, but it's 5061 and it says Edge. So because Joel is logged into as an external user on desktop as well as mobile, it's going out to 5061 as well. So that's just to tell you that the invite is being forked. And again, just keep a note on the timestamp. It's 3057. So all the good stuff happens there. The key for us here is to know that just before 25 seconds have elapsed, the desktop client sends a 486 that says the ringing timer has expired and this location is not Collie's most active endpoint. We'll come back to this, and I wanted to explain one more point there. So we'll come back to that, but that's coming. And then here you will see UCIVA has auto-accepted the message. So it says MS Diagnostics Public, and the call was auto-accepted by UCIVA. So we saw the invite was forked out to desktop as well as mobile. Desktop sent a 486, but the point is like UCIVA did auto-accept after about 25 seconds. Question?
During the wait time, what happens if the desktop endpoint comes online? So if you have an inactive desktop and somebody sends an IM.
Yeah. So great question. So within 25 seconds, if desktop comes back up, so what the user is doing to translate that into a real life user scenario, user has logged in and will still see the toast. The user will click on the toast because the toast is still there. Click on the toast, and that actually triggers the 200 OK back to the server. So as soon as the server gets it, it will send a cancel back to the UCIVA.
Does it still complete the auto accept?
No, the logic will it will stop there. Yeah, because that's the whole point, right? Someone has to accept the message. If no one has accepted, then the auto accept term comes into picture, right? So yeah, great question. So that's from the SIP logging to show you the forking and how the UCIVA accepted that. So let's quickly jump to the trace. And there was a question around auto accept feature depending on server-side conversation history. So I am quickly gonna jump on that. If you search on the server-side conversation history enabled text, it's search. You will see at some point it does a check whether the server-side conversation history is set to true or not. If it's set to false, then the UCIVA is not actually counted in. It is not involved. It is not factored into the auto accept design. So, and now we can check those screening. So when you search for the screen and quickly scroll to the last one, you will again see this endpoint is the preferred endpoint. If you actually take out the filter and check the messages right above this message, you will see what endpoint is being discussed. But this is just to reflect that the server is making a decision on who the preferred endpoint is, and UCIVA is the preferred endpoint because we saw in the SIP logs UCIVA accepted. And then there is one more, auto accept. And this is just to confirm that when you search for auto accept, the collaboration logs, the collaboration component will confirm that auto accept supported for endpoint, that's set to true. So these are like some checks, when you're troubleshooting, you have a deployment and you want to make sure this is working fine, or if it's not working, you can turn on logs and start looking at logs and make sure it's set to true or not. So when I was actually collecting logs and building a story around this, I was actually not sure about this 486 and how the desktop client knows that the invite has been forked. So user knows that user is on desktop and user is signed into mobile. But how does the desktop, as like a dummy endpoint, know that the invite was forked out? If anyone knows, then please speak up. But I'm just quickly going to show that. So this log is actually from the desktop client. It's the UCC API log. And if I zoom in, you will see here that there are 3 wire headers. This one tells us that this IP is actually the link front-end server IP, and branched is set to true. So that tells the desktop client that the user who is using me actually is signed into another link endpoint as well. So this is just to make sure, when you're troubleshooting, you can actually collect the UCC API logs to start with and see if the user was logged into other endpoints or not. If your end users are complaining that their messages are not showing up on desktop or something like that, through this log you can confirm whether the user is signed into another endpoint, whether the end user is not telling you. So the logs, of course, they tell the truth. So you can. Yep. So the question is how does server know, or if you can speak up.
Oh. Okay, it's on. Hi. The question is, this is a nice feature to see the branch statement here, but how do I identify how many endpoints the user is signed into, and what are their IP addresses? Any way of doing that?
So front-end knows about it. The front-end keeps so whenever the user signs in from different endpoints, the front-end knows about it and it stores it in the SQL database. So you can actually build a query and see what the active endpoints for a specific user are. It will also know the IP addresses because if you look at the SIP registered traffic, starting from registered all the way up to 200 OK, you will see the IP addresses and everything is all shared. So front-end does know where the user is signing in from, the IP address.
So I can look it up without doing the SQL query. I just look at the SIP registered address list, the graphic. How do I do it personally? Do I have to do a SQL query?
Yes, yeah, and we can take it offline. There's actually a nice public blog on that. I forgot the script name, but it's get CS connections. It's pretty popular. It's a very powerful script. I don't know if the author is here, but kudos to the author if he's here. Hey, yeah. Auto accept work for group conversations, as in pchat.
So let's say somebody starts a group conversation in a distribution list, and some people were not on their desktop, and they did not accept that conversation. They will not see any of the messages. Only the people who accepted within there was I think 30 seconds time frame. Within the 30 seconds, they will see the messages. So this auto accept will work for the group conversations or not?
Yes, for IAM conferencing, it should work. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, it is from front-end point of view. It is whether it's IAM MCU or peer-to-peer IAM. The logic is still the same. Yeah. Good question. Yeah, we just have 10 minutes, so quickly finish the remaining slides. So we did. Yeah. So that's what we actually just went through. How does the client know whether it is SPOP versus NPOP? So this was quickly to explain the MPOP logic for auto accept. At t equal to 0, the messages are coming. It is delivered. The toast is showing up on mobile as well as desktop, but it's not accepted. The sender keeps sending the messages. At t equal to 25, you will see that those are auto accepted and those are delivered, but the desktop client is sending a 486. So that was about server-side conversation history and auto accept. Switching gears a little bit, we introduced a feature called passive auth in 2013 CU1. And when you configure passive auth, we had a configuration limitation where, actually it's better if I explain it through the visual. The configuration involved using web service configuration, and it has flags which are Windows auth, cert auth, pin auth, and then you have the WS Fed passive auth that we introduced in 2013 CU1. The limitation here was that these flags, if they are set in a way, they are applicable to all the endpoints. So let's say if you are doing passive auth, that's applicable to all endpoints, all link endpoints that we have, whether that is desktop, mobile, phone, link for Mac. So it wasn't really a configuration that was flexible enough for the admins to enable a specific auth for mobile while keeping other endpoints, using the NTLM or Kerberos auth. So what we have done and new in SFB server is we have introduced a flag called mobile preferred auth type. It has its own authentication options. So just like how you have at a web service configuration, you have different auth options. Within mobile preferred auth type, you have different auth options. The goal through this is, our strategy for two-factor auth is actually ADAL, Active Directory Authentication Library, but we want to explain this feature and just show the configuration and quickly show like how it shows up in Fiddler. So to configure that, you will set the passive auth to true if you are doing passive auth just for mobile endpoints. You will set the passive auth URL. The additional configuration is to use the mobile preferred auth type flag and then set it to fed passive. If you actually do a tab when you are running this command, you will see like there are other auth options as well for mobile preferred auth type. It's not just limited to fed passive. You can set other auth options for mobile. So that's a niche, feature we have introduced in Skype for Business Server. Again, our strategy is actually ADAL, and that will have its own configuration. But since this is new, and just wanted to share that and quickly show like how it shows up in the Fiddler. 8, right? So when you look at Fiddler traffic, you will have a bunch of messages. I have actually tried to remove the ones that are not required. You will see here that in the MEX document, when you capture the Fiddler traffic while the mobile app is signing in, you will see that there are different auth options here in the MEX document. So you have web ticket, OAuth policy, web ticket, anonymous. Win negotiate is basically NTLM and Kerberos, depending on their preference. For mobile, it's of course NTLM. And then because we set up passive, actually if you expand here, you will see like the ranking here says 2. And this ranking is actually for all the options except the one that we set for mobile preferred auth. Here you will see the ranking is 1. So what this tells to the mobile clients is that this is the auth preference, and we have actually made sure the mobile apps have the logic to prefer this. So while we introduced this feature on the server side, the mobile apps were enabled to consume this flag and prefer this over other auth options. So if you are troubleshooting and want to see what the mobile app is doing, what auth preference mobile app has, you can quickly check a Fiddler trace, check the MEX document, and look at this rankings there, the priority numbers. So that's. So that was a deep dive into server-side conversation history, auto-accept, and auth options. I'll let Miru quickly.
So we also have an insider program that we are launching for Skype for Business. And so we'll have some more details on it. But if you or your organization are interested in joining, please note down that email address and just send us an email. It's skypeexp@microsoft.com. Just email us, let us know you're interested in the insider program, and then we'll send you back the link to get registered for that. So at this point, we'll switch over to Q&A. And
we have 5 minutes for Q&A.
If you can just come up to the mics for the Q&A, that'd be great.
The whole goal, the key takeaway for our audience is that, independent of the feature that we introduced in mobility in future, troubleshooting, debugging should be easier. So, question.
Very quick and probably very stupid question. So, when the user is offline everywhere, the sender will still get NDR, right?
Correct.
Unlike consumer Skype, when this is the biggest complaint from the users of the link that it works differently from the Skype.
Yeah, as Girja mentioned earlier, that is something we are aware of. So we're kind of in phase 1 of this. It is something that we are looking at. So, yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a question on.
I have one more question.
Yep.
The shell stuff that you put up there was all for Greenfield. Are you going to also, or is it going to be on TechNet for the 2013 upgrade? Because it looked like most of us were in that position.
Well, that was actually 2013, though, isn't it? I mean, that you put it up. It wasn't for Greenfield.
What is that?
The commandlet that you put up there to enable conversation history? That wasn't for Greenfield, right?
No, that's for Skype for Business Server. That commandlet is not available in 2013.
I know it's not available in 2013. What I want to know is you said that most of that, like setting up the Exchange server, was all for a Greenfield installation. If we already have 2013, but perhaps don't have OAuth turned on or some of the other features?
Yeah, so you can leverage the OAuth that is coming from 2013, yes. All you have to do in that case would be to run through the server-side conversation specific, those 2 flags.
Okay.
I don't know where the question is coming from, but yeah, sure.
If you use the passive authentication, will there be any changes in the Exchange Web Services authentication? Can you leverage that, or is it still unavailable?
Can you please repeat, actually?
Can you come close to the mic, sir?
If you use the passive authentication,
yes.
Will the Exchange Web Service still be unavailable, or any changes?
That's still a limitation, yeah. So that's why our strategy is to go towards ADAL, and we'll be talking on that tomorrow's session. That's still a limitation because Exchange doesn't do passive auth, and ADAL, which is our office-wide modern auth, that's going to enable all our products to do, auth, so that way meetings, voicemail can be retrieved by other applications outside of Exchange. So will the
services look like? I mean, if the phone can't really do Exchange authentication, how can they retrieve history? They can't. So I mean, if you passive authentication, all the features you talked about are not usable, right?
Right, and tomorrow they'll be covering a lot more in detail about it.
Tomorrow in the session at 3 p.m., Girija and I will be talking about that specifically. Thank you.
We'll go there and then come back to the site.
Yeah, there are 3 relevant sessions I've put down here.
So the question is,
yes,
you can transfer a call from your desktop client to your mobile device. Can the reverse be done in the new version?
No, so we are tracking that feature. We are seeing how many customers are requesting that. The question is, you can transfer from desktop to mobile. That is not actually like a endpoint to endpoint transfer. That's more like from desktop to PSTN call. So there's not mobility involved. But we are tracking a request that is transferring calls between link endpoints directly, without going through PSTN. So if you have a strong justification, if you can send that email to skypeexperience@microsoft.com, we can, we will see. But we need strong justification, strong scenarios.
Thank you.
Yep. There's a question there.
Yeah. Are there plans to replace the Link 2013 mobile app with a Skype for Business app? And will it work with web components on Link Server 2013?
Yeah, so great question. The question is, will the apps be updated? They will be updated. We don't have a timeline, of course, for that. And those apps will still be logging in to Link Server 2013 because it's still the same UCVA component. We are not deprecating anything on Link Server 2013 or introducing anything new in Skype for Business server app or Skype for Business mobile app that will require a newer version of server. So it will continue to work, to answer in short. Yeah.
So just a quick heads up. We have like 30 seconds before they kick us out. Kosha and I will be available just outside if you have any other questions, but they're going to kick us out of this room very soon.
We can take one more. 40 seconds.
This is regarding the server conversation history. With users home in multiple Exchange environments, specifically AD forests, will it still be able to set up those?
What's the question?
If you have multiple Exchange environments,
yes,
specifically separate forests, will you still be able to set up server conversation history for all users?
Yes, so long as the prereqs are met, that scenario will work. We had this question in another session, and yeah, it will continue to work. So long as your OAuth is also set up correctly between Link and the Exchange in the other forest. Yeah. One more here? Or?
So, for compliance reason, we have to archive the data from Link, the conversation history in SQL database. So would this still work auto-accept?
Yeah, so those are actually independent features. Archiving role is more like the conversations are going through the front-end server, and the front-end server is using lists and sending it to the archiving server. So that is outside of, those are like independent features, we can say. If archiving is disabled, you can still have server-side conversation history as well as auto-accept.
Okay, but if archiving is enabled, then we archive to SQL database. Would it still work?
Yeah, it will still work. It will still work. Yeah, those are, we can think of that as like within lists. Within lists, we saw like different components, right? Like one was the Exchange, one was a QoE agent, one was a CDR. So those agents will send it to the right destinations. So it will continue to work if you have archiving enabled. Yes. I think that's it. Actually, we can discuss now. But thank you so much.